everyone. It's a very great time for me, and I saw this morning there were people coming in, and now it's so full, and it's very nice to be here to present. And like I always say to everyone, that this is a business trip, but a very personal business trip for me. Beginning with a presentation, and just a quick example of how you would develop a design, sketches, and then I will entertain your questions for the rest of the 30 minutes. Okay. Oh, sorry. Okay, so this is a photo of me. Don't know if you can see it, but this is actually my younger days living in the Philippines. Did the same presentation yesterday. But I was here for 3 years, living from 1982 to 1984. So this was my first, the Philippines in Manila was the first experience which I had outside of where I was born in Korea. And this was the place which opened up my view and my imagination of there are cars around which I could actually watch, be inspired, and do my sketches. So I was part of the IS school 3 years. So this is, again, the reason I said it's a very personal experience for me is that because I've been here and I've lived probably before you were born, most of you guys were born, but I do know what you went through and the kind of the culture that you're surrounded. So hopefully I'll be a good help for you today's presentation. Okay, automotive design. It's the profession which helps to develop the exterior and interior aesthetics of automobiles. So what we do is basically we can scribble some drawings, a lot of imaginative sketches, and unlimited dreams onto papers and the tablets or computers. And so we ended up drawing some what we call a rendering, which is a more developed sketch of our ideas and our imaginations of what cars would look like if it was actually built. And we would end up actually developing a model, which is what we call a scale model. So it's not a meter long. This is 25% of what a full-size model would be. And it's a friend of mine who's done we work for Chevrolet, Ewan Kingsbury, and this was his graduation work of a Nike branded car. So, like as you know, we have many car companies around, but automotive design does not have to be related or restricted just to an automotive brand. And sometimes you get asked to develop a design which is not necessarily from an automotive design related field. So this is a sketch, again, a great friend of mine from Audi, which developed this in just over an hour, and we actually ended up developing a car for a movie, for an iRobot. The whole of design of this car was developed in 10 days. So of course this is there's no regulations or guidelines as to safeties or fuel efficiency. So this is more about a blue sky, or even more concept than some of the show cars and concept cars you see. So we have a lot of fun. We work in a design studio such as this. Well, this is a studio which I got an image I got from Google. It's a studio of Rolls-Royce. So we do work in a very nice environment. As you can see, we have a guy working. Having a conversation over a phone. Yes, we do have some fun. We do have some leeway as well. And we take some nice photos, which you see many of that in the magazines or on the internet. These are, again, designs from another brand. But some of the guys I know, a good friend of. So this is our design studio, Hyundai Design Studio. You can actually see the clay model, the model of the Sonata, which I was the lead designer of. And we have our designers working on many of the sketches and developments, the ideation, You actually see a silver model down there, which is a pure silver actually. And, up on the wall we have our drawings of the interior and the exterior. We have our modelers making the model. And we actually built a full-scale model which is exactly the same as what the car would, except for the interior. So that's an exterior model. This will cost in excess of what, $200,000, $300,000 to build one model like that. So very expensive progress of design, but it's the progress at the end which was very worthwhile. So this is what I do. I actually do a lot of media presentation of how our cars are developed, because I'm in charge of design strategy and vision. I do meet a lot of journalists and a lot of visitors to present about what we do and what we're going to do. But my job in effect is now, as a manager, it's more about overseeing the lineup of design. So I get to see and I get to review all of the cars that's out there right now being developed within the R&D center. And as you can see from a very distinctive hairstyle, if you don't see my face, it's me. And sometimes we see a journalist. This is a journalist from Automotive and Sport from Germany. We invite them to the R&D center. We do a presentation. And at the end, you might get a very small picture of me with a presentation of a car. So this is the new i30. Of course, I did not personally design this, but as a manager of the lineup and design vision, yes, I do get the credit as the designer for this car. Okay, this is my family. It's very personal. The photo with my wife, which I took in Singapore last year. I have two boys, very destructive and very active as well. So this is a very brief one. It's a photo of my little boy when he was born. Of course, they're very friendly at this photo, but they grow up to be doing the same thing. So, my childhood. 1974, I was born 23rd of August 1974. And number 5 actually signifies the time, which should be number 6 now, the time I came to the Philippines. This was my very first experience at overseas. And when I was 13, I moved to Australia, which I call my home, and where my parents are located. And when I entered my university, which I know a lot of you guys are students right now, my 39 out of 45 was my very first grade in my first year. So I was not exactly the best student in my course. But the number 3 out of 17, this was my final grade for my 4th year as well. So I did make a great stride in developing myself into a confident designer. I graduated in 1996, and I worked 2 years in Japan for one of the very large electronics manufacturers designing a mobile phone upon my graduation. Because back in Australia, there is no automotive design course. So I majored in industrial design course, which, again, without having a formal education and transport design course, it is still very possible for you to continue on dreaming to become a car designer or engineers, which are all here. Okay, and in 1998 I was actually offered a place in the Royal College of Art, which was about a chance of beating another 20 people to get a position at. The Royal College of Art has a graduate. This is not just a graduate, a chief designer of all these brands, a graduate of the Royal College of Art. So just goes to show you a great prestige in working as a big part of this institution, academia. And for you to have a global dream to become an automotive designer, look beyond and look and think limitless as to where you can go, and there's still an area and time for you to achieve your dream to become a car designer as well. In 1999, I took a year off and went on traveling to India, which had an absolutely great time. I spent a year in India. I spent about 5 or 6 months in his temple, just living every day, just trying to find myself. And like a lot of people talk about, no, I did not get my hairstyle traveling to the Indian temple. This is something happened which later in my life. And in 2002, I actually came back. I worked for, after 1999, I spent a year in India. And then before I completed my master's course, I did 2 years of work at one of the German car manufacturers. And then I came to my master's degree course in 2002. And this was my final year project. I was sponsored by one of the General Motors to develop a project about a small pickup truck which you might see on the road right now, but this was another concept. And it would actually end up being developed as a model like this. And would have a gentleman sitting on the bottom left-hand corner with a blue shirt. He's actually the chief designer of Jaguar, who was my master and a mentor for my master's degree project as well. So go through building a model like this, and you actually have your final project for graduation. And in 2004, I moved to Hyundai with an offer to come to Hyundai and work. And in 2007, it took me first 3 years developing a vehicle, developing a design. And the very first design which I did for Hyundai was the i30. I don't know if it's on the road in the Philippines right now, but this was the very first car which was developed specifically for the European market to compete against cars such as Volkswagen, Golf, and the Ford Focus. And I was the main exterior designer of that. And in 2009, the success leads to another success. And I was the lead designer of advanced product styling of the i45, which is Sonata. And just to give you an idea of how it was developed, I actually derived my motivation from America's top yacht, and how the yacht breaks down the wave of the water. And these are some of the sketches you would develop. A very quick one. This is actually done on a computer, on a black background, and you can see from the bottom right-hand image, without the wheels, that shows a basic profile, what we call a side view, of what you will see for the Sonata as well. So this is an interview I did with one of the latest publications, Paul had, to do an interview for the Sonata project. Again, this is was an inspiration, and I did this car, one of my inspiration cars. And in 2010, again, I'm getting a little bit busier and busier as I go along. And in 2010, and I was again the lead designer for advanced product styling of the Accent. So this is slightly, to tell you the truth, I actually started off doing the Accent first. And my chief designer asked me if I would actually move to another project and another team. Because my vice president of design actually wanted me to develop the Sonata project. So I started with this, I ended up doing the Sonata project. And again, we had the interview for one of the Bangkok coast, and an Accent test drive design. So when you're a designer, you actually, the times when you're designing a car is very arduous and painful process, but at the end, it's quite rewarding to see the travel around the world, like I'm doing now, present about your work in your design. And in 2011, again, I was very glad to see an Eon, which is on the left-hand side of the stage. I was also the lead designer for the exterior of the Eon. And again, you get to do a lot of interviews. The reason I put this in is because I want to make sure that yes, I did do the design, and there is a proof of design which is out there. Because there are, it's a team effort. Of course, it's a team effort. No single individual designer would design everything from start till the end. But there is a lead designer who actually oversees the project and the program to guide the design through the start till the end. And this is Wall Street Journal in America. And again, this is a presentation for E.ON in India in November of 2011. And 2012, which probably marks the last of my individual project, is the HV20 series, which is specifically for the Indian market. And again, a presentation for your design. It's always nice to have design being recognized as something which is the forefront of our brand. And I took a photo with the director of the Brazilian Brazil. And in 2013, my primary responsibility, which has Mr. Gudo suspension, sorry. I'm actually a lead designer for lead design identity of building sculpture. So strategic design is the work I do, and I do a lot of presentations for my work. And I'm like the messenger of my brand and design as well. So I do my work, but I have an added responsibility to travel around the world to show and tell exactly how we do our design and why we do it. Like I said, today's presentation is very much more personal because of my relationship with Manila and the Philippines. So this actually ends my brief presentation, which is, again, over 10 minutes. But I just want to tell you this. I have a very interesting story to tell you. Has anyone heard of a terminology, 4-minute mile? Anyone? A 4-minute mile? Yes, I think you know. This is actually a term coined in the 1950s to see a human limit as to how fast a human can go running 1,600 meters. And there was a university thesis to prove that a human being cannot run faster than they cannot go under 4 minutes with 1,600 meters. But when the record was broken, the record was actually 3 minutes 59.9. It took 2 minutes, and it took 2 weeks for the record to be broken. So what I'm telling you is that if you set a boundary, if you set a limitation as to what you can do and you can't do, you're only as good as your limitation. But when the limitation and when the idea, when the boundaries that you set for yourself is broken, then the ideas and the innovations, the innovative ideas that you can come up with is absolutely limitless. So don't think that it's too late. Don't think that whatever you think, if any of the ideas or thoughts that restrict you from being what you want to be, don't be like that. Because I'm sure that for me, it's a very quick presentation, but I can tell you for one thing, that nothing came really easy for me. Now I'm standing here and presenting to you, but nothing came easy for me. And nothing will ever come easy for any of you. But it's a matter of you breaking your own glass roof, what we call a glass roof, to make yourself better, to prove yourself, and make yourself be counted. And that is what you really need at the end for you to become who you want to become. So thank you very much for the presentation. And I'll just do a very quick sketch of a car, or what you would do, and I'll entertain your questions. So thank you very much, and we'll start our